yeah, so a lot of the low self-esteem too was coming because every interaction I had, not including under the influence of alcohol, was terrible. Like, it was getting to that point. I didn't have a single positive interaction aside from drinking, and that was including at the residence. It was a place, Ellenhorn. No positive interactions aside from after I'd been drinking, including when I was drinking there. Because if I had alcohol mixed in with my drink, if I had a nip on me, and I would drink that, but so I don't have chronic self-esteem issues, but I was starting to get low self-esteem. I have a good sense of self. I was starting to get lose my sense of self because I was like thinking, like, I like to think, even if people don't agree, I like to think I handle things to, like, try to handle things well. I like to think I try to be fair. I try to be diplomatic. I try to give people a chance. I try to do this. But I don't like to think I'm just constantly reacting. Everything just constantly reacting. Everything just never giving people a chance. Like being constantly angry and like the only times I'm in a positive interaction is when I'm buzzed. And sure, I wasn't like faced. I wasn't like completely like this. I was like mostly keeping the rebound effects in check, but then I was also like drinking because of the lowered self-esteem. So I wanted to at one point try to stop that, but I was also worried about the potentially getting a label of mania and having to go like with that. So I was kind of trying to get a new psychiatrist because I wanted to stop this. I felt terrible. Like I did. I felt terrible. And I felt like I couldn't tell anyone. And for a bit, like, it did stop. Like, I was drinking in the morning, at night, afternoon, all day, like every day. Sometimes too, when I'd go to bed, I take the alcohol, Klonopin, clonidine, prazosin, melatonin agonist to get to sleep. Wake up, so I'd already go to sleep late, and I'd wake up before the sun came out, screaming. Like, wake myself up screaming. At one point, I said to this guy who was near me, I said, "Oh, sorry, did I wake you up screaming?" And he's like, "No, were you screaming?" I was like, "Yeah, I woke myself up screaming." He's like, "Maybe you're dreaming." I was like, "No, I was definitely awake, but yeah, I think I was having like a night terror." But I was like, go and drink in the morning, and he wouldn't let me get a new psychiatrist. He was also the medical director, which sucked even more because he was a narcissist. His name is called Matt Bernstein. He was a huge narcissist, not very good social skills, and I think I could have maybe stopped drinking and not had to worry about that too, but I wasn't sure because I sent him an email right when I got that. I was like, "I'm not a danger to myself, I'm not a danger to others. This is irresponsible, you can't be doing this." But he never responded, and I barely saw him I didn't really see him anyway, but at one point, something happened. I decided, oh, I'll try to get this job thing that I have anyway, that was like selling cutlery. So I tried to contact the company, which didn't end up ever falling through. It's another story, but they ended up getting hold of me, saying, yeah, well, come in, we want you, blah blah blah. Yeah, so I got these cutleries, and I had them with me at the residence, and they said, you can't keep this at the residence. And I'm like thinking, oh God, they can't have these. They can't keep these because they're gonna break them. They're gonna steal them. And I signed a paper. So when I went in there to get that job, I signed a paper that said, I'm not gonna put these in anyone else's possession. And they're gonna do this and whatever. They're gonna do that. And it was like, I was like so worried. I'm like, these people are a cult. They're gonna try to keep me here forever. They just want my parents' money. So, like, I went in the first day. This is embarrassing. I was actually even on the first training. I was kind of a little bit drunk, but like I felt badly about myself. I felt like I'm not focused enough. This is irresponsible. So the next day I went in and I was like, okay, I don't want to get any rebound effects, so I'm going to take Klonopin, I'm going to take Clonidine, and just going with those to this place. I was more focused. I was motivated. It helped my self-esteem feel a bit self-esteem higher, and I felt good on that. And but when I went in, not under the influence of alcohol, but also then they took away the knives, and I was like so stressed out. And the unaliving again issue came up, so I did try to unalive, and I ended up like getting a bit like bruises. I would say how, but I got like bruises on my neck. You can probably know how. And I ended up actually breaking the hook in the room because of how I did it. Because I tried to do that before and I wasn't able to because of like instinctively grabbing on and stuff. So I had a vice. My hands were in a vice, but that was so uncomfortable. Just slowly, like whatever. So I ended up wriggling out of the, so much the hook broke, but I ended up actually just putting makeup on my neck and having a hoodie covered up, so they didn't know about that. But I actually contacted my friend and I said, like, I just tried to unalive and stuff. So this is at the residence, and he came in and he's like, I'm so sorry that happened to you. He gave me a hug, he gave me alcohol, but like, yeah. So then with the working thing falling through, I just become, just again more drinking, and again I couldn't leave the place. I couldn't get a new psychiatrist. I ended up, and it's just like all the problems, and at one point, like I was developing a complex, which I was like I at least want to feel like I'm likable. I'm someone who I think is likable. I'm someone who's fair and good and all that. And they like to try to label me as like, I say sometimes like I have self-loathing because of the wanting to unalive, but I don't. It's like I tell them this. I don't lie about this. I say, yeah, I don't feel safe with people. I don't feel safe in the world. That's why I want to unalive. That makes me feel like that would be a safe thing. And to be honest, this is part of evolutionary theory, that it's kind of like a self-preservation thing, a last-ditch attempt to avoid harm, which I think makes sense. Believe me, I study these things, and that actually makes a lot of sense. But so they ended up, so they diagnosed me with mood NOS, which is like, how can you get more vague than that? Nonsensical. Literally, bipolar NOS and depression NOS is already like super vague. So what are they? It's like they're just wanting to put a label down, because you can't get more vague than depression NOS and bipolar NOS. But yeah, it's like I don't have the level I don't ever get really usually like a depressive level that you would think of to suicide, but I don't fit BPD either. Like, I could get into that. There's one PD, which I didn't even want, but I was like worried. They were super worried that I was gonna get it. They never mention it. I test one PD, this was years ago, but I always test high in this. I tested almost 100%. And I test unusually low in I tested unusually low in BPD traits, pretty low in narcissism traits. But this is for the general population. Like, I tested abnormally low in BP, like a 3 out of like the normal 15 to 20 or something percent that people usually 25% usually get, a 3. But this other thing, I tested 98%, which, yeah, I have those same thoughts. I have those same behaviors, but I don't have I don't agree with the framing, which I could get into, but yeah. I test, like, all the tests they gave me for BPD2, they came back negative, but they're, like, narcissistic, so they want to give me, they want to believe their own confirmation bias. They don't care about the tests. They're supposed to give me a semi-structured interview if the questionnaires come back positive, but the questionnaires didn't even come back positive.